Hi, my name is Dinis Soares, and I'm doing this video that I will call a mix from other jobs. And this represents the sun. It was to be me at the time, but it's the symbol that I have in YouTube because I love the sun. This is an image from the goddess, the sun goddess. It's a flag from Japan. The red means the goddess sun, and white means energy, purity, and peace. And the Soares flowers means the beauty of the spring season. This is Macmillan Cancer Support that you can help. They are in the internet with 4 ways to get help from you. I'm a cancer patient from the last 5 years, did 5 years in March this year, and it was then who helped me to solve the problems to get a new house for living, because no one wants a client in their house that is suffer from cancer and is not working. And Macmillan gives the support for everybody. They are in the hospitals, we can speak with them, we can get a lower, we can a lot of things from them. Please help them. Thank you. This is a telephone. I'm doing this job with a simple telephone that I bought near 3 years ago. Is a 4G, not 5. The first 2 years I had a contract. I bought in Tesco. I have a contract for 2 years paying £7.5 per month with 2 hours calls and minutes for message. I think, and I'm speaking about the telephone because I'm using a very cheap camera, cheap telephone, and I'm using for 2 things. One, to explain. I have a house internet connection that I pay, I think, £32, and they want to increase the price. And I thought I need to find another solution for internet. And I finished the contract, and I make another one in Tesco with just a card that now is costing me £19.5, and is much better than the house connection. And it is one of the things that in many places this type of card must exist, because we don't need land connections, you can have internet connections, and you can use the telephone power our internet at home. That is very good for many places who don't have internet properly. And another thing I have from this phone is just to explain. My camera just have, I think it's this style, this one here or less. But to explain one thing about how to produce things nowadays in the world, we need to begin to think about the future and how people can get money and can live. Because if you look in one of these cameras, things that in the past it was impossible, how small these things are. Now we have a camera to take pictures with a miniature of camera. It's just to explain how developed are production for everything nowadays. Don't think every country has the possibility to be a very good industrial country, because it will not be possible. It's very important to think about agriculture first of everything, and to have all the people fit. This is me when I was 20 years old. I went to Morocco. I went to Morocco a few times. I enjoy traveling by car and going hours driving. I don't like flying much. It's not because I'm afraid, just I stay in the same place without to see anything for a long time. And this is my hippie style at the time. I think hippie is a good thing for people, and rock and roll too. This is me in an economic magazine. I am specialized in timber for many years. Until 40 years old, I work in the timber business, production. And it is here my name, Dinis Soares. And this picture is taken from 94. That is years ago. I was much younger and better looking. It's why I have the sun. I don't like any pictures of mine. I like this one anyway, but I don't like normally my pictures. And you are going to understand all my works, and the majority of the things come from the time I work in the timber and production. I'm just here because I developed at the time, I changed from 2 tracks to 7 tracks, high products value, with the same things to work. It was the main reason to change layout, quality of products, and put all the equipments working. I passed from 2 to 7 with the same things. This is me 1 year ago. It's the only picture that I like. I just found it recently. And I was with my daughter. She comes to London, because I live in London for many years, in UK for 20 years. And this was with my doctor. I cut it, but it was a self picture. And I love my smile, because normally in my pictures I don't have the smile. And I don't know, I think this part here makes me different. And it's from 1 year now, and it's me. This problem is, if you want to see these things, you must write Dinis Soares too, to appear in the internet. And you are going to see the sun in the YouTube. When you are looking, this is my symbol now for internet. And the program that I'm doing is from things that I took from this and new things. And I give more attention to electricity, tires, and food. I like in my programs to have a god. And this is the ice god. And it's very important to understand how climate change is changing, and they are not going to do professional every year, because every year you have a much more increase for the diverse situations that you are having. For example, with the heat that you are having, now you are losing the ice in the mountains. That means you are losing water in the rivers, and you are losing water for crops and for drinking. How much water it goes, more of these things disappear. And with the ice disappear, like in this part here, we have one thing that comes from the land when we lost the ice, is methane coming from the land, from the vegetables that were in the past, and now when the ice disappears, big quantities of methane are coming. And methane is worse than carbon. But you have another thing about methane, and for example, is the wells. You see, this is from the United States. They designed this blue to orphan wells. Because one of the problems of methane, every people think that gas is the best than coal or other things. It's not properly really. Because in the last, for 1 century, in Europe and the United States, we open a lot of wells to take petrol. And all of these things normally are open, losing methane to the air, to the atmosphere. And no one speaks about this problem. But if you read these things, you are going to see that is not a easy thing, and no one is paying attention to this. You are minding a lot with the fat of the cows, because it's very bad, but no one is paying attention for the methane coming out of them. And you can believe it's many, without to say that you still lose a lot of methane when you are working with the gas that you use in the kitchen. That is an image of the fire, God. And this is what we have. We have lots of fires nowadays. I'm Portuguese, and I tell you, in 2000, we could have 100 fires per day. I don't know if it's still now. I still know that Spain and Portugal, they are still in good fires. Also, at the time we could see on the TV how many fires we have. It's like a show. In some and it's a show that are making arsenal people, putting them every day. Because by natural weather, and I'm from that time, sometimes we had one big fire per year, or in a few years, not 100 per day. Something is wrong, and one of the things is to show this thing on TV like a show, and is increasing the fires every year for that reason. Portugal and Spain are very good in fires, Greece too, and it's just a question to begin. From 1 you go to 10, from 10 you go to 100, from 100 you go to 1,000. It's how way fires are working nowadays. Another thing that is happening, and even an example is Canada, because so many fires is happening there, burning for months. I remember last year, 5 people went from South Africa to help them. They don't have enough things to stop the fires. They don't have money for that. We can have money for arms, but not for fires, everywhere in the world. And it's something that people must see. Are these fires for crops? Or they are going to replace the fires with trees? Because you need to think about trees. I'll speak later on about that situation more time. This is one situation, is a volcano, and that in our history, human history, they finished with a few civilizations and make things very different for life. And we are eating too much the earth, and they are going to change all the structure from bottom of the earth to the top. How much hot? It means we are hotting the superficie of the earth too, and you can have more of these things. Another thing, you cannot see this connection between this and the French Revolution. But the French Revolution is one of the reasons that it happened. It was for this situation before the French Revolution. Because the priests in France didn't want to have potatoes because they say that it's something from the devil. How do you see God and the devil are very important in these things. And the French could not eat potatoes because it was a devil thing. But for example, in Ireland, save the people, the potatoes. And for that situation, not having wheat cereals for doing bread, it was one of the reasons of the French Revolution. History is very important. It's an earthquake. It's another situation. We are having, before the volcanoes, more working every year, and we are having earthquakes much more nowadays than before. And it's a result of the climate change too. This is a fire. Now you see, you have green, you have fire, is connect separate to, you are destroying the trees in all the world. And something that is very important is the trees. And you cannot live without that. And when we say it's ecology to use timber, that is the best for climate change, it's just a stupid idea, like using, stopping making plastic glasses, change them for paper with plastic together. The first were recycled, the second ones are not recycled, but it's good too. Just you have to burn them because we change from a recycled product for a no recycled product for the society agree that is okay now. Why have this? This not come from earthquakes or from the earth, but come from the space to kill them and make a big fire. The big fire, if you have a big fire, something is happening. You can speak about methane, carbon, but we don't speak about oxygen. Anything, a car, a cook at home, are burning oxygen. You are doing carbon, you just do carbon because you destroy the oxygen for doing it, to get fire, to get warm too. And they are big for one reason. Because at this time, the Earth atmosphere was so much oxygen that things was growing up because we were a lot of oxygen. It's the reason because they are big. They are big just for that reason, and the reason is oxygen. How do you see? At the time, we have a lot of stations. We are still burning petrol from this time and the time before them. Because you are taking petrol down before the dinosaurs are on Earth from the beginning. Because we had a lot of stations, is why we have a lot of oxygen, and we lost the majority of the oxygen with the extinction of dinosaurs. And it's something that you must think how much oxygen our Earth needs. Do we need oxygen to breathe? Yes. How much we need? We may choose. This is my experience at work with electricity when I began to work in a sawmill. I doubled production of the sawmill. One of the things was maintenance and keeping the times, short the times for stopping in the sawmill. And I used to change these things. I had a very good teacher, Mr. Salvador of Travesso, that helps me to understand the electricity, how it works. And in time, when I had a problem in engine, I knew how to check if it was broken or not, or to see if these things was working or not, and I could change for another one. It's my experience of electricity. All of people are working in electricity. Not everybody has been in school, just some people learn with time with others. It was from a job I did 1 year before. At the time I wrote everything. Now I'm just doing these things. I don't like to write. I'm not English. I love England like I love Portugal in the same way, 50-50 for both of them. And I prefer this way of speaking and showed my ideas. And it was this thing from Shell and VID, a car, that I find interesting, but if a country, this is a picture of in China, lots of my things begin in China, because it's so a big country and developing that have many things. Today, we cannot think anything without to be in China too. And at the time I had the idea of if it's from a public company, without to be Shell, a public state company, they can use the system and another car companies from a public too, from the state, they have a few ones. We could use the electricity during the day when we have excess of electricity to recharge of these things. Or say you can have a lot of recharge place without to be with panel things, and using the batteries to keep electricity during the day in them. We are going to need more batteries, we'll see later on. And this is a machine that we have. Let me see if this thing is working. Yeah, I think. You see, sometimes I'm using this thing. Yeah. And this job begins with agriculture. I was not thinking. I was thinking electricity, but I got the idea to do a job. I do these jobs when I have cancer treatment, because in the day that I have treatment, normally I don't at night sleep at night. I have a very bad memory. I know that from when I was 17 years old. Now I'm 64, and I wasn't doing these things because when I have chemotherapy, it works like doing crosswords. So people do crosswords. I do these things, and I was thinking about this machine and the banana tree to cut banana tree. How do you see? Is a big thing of banana tree. They can be used for animal feed, and they can be cut and used lots of things that nowadays you are not keeping for animal feed. They can be used for animal feed. I show later on how it can change everything. And for example, these ones, before cutting it for animal feed, you can take the old leaves and cutting them for animal feed. And it was when I was with this thing, I thought about one thing, that is air, a closed circuit of air. We don't throw air away, we just keep the air inside. And it's the only energy, air at the time. Now I have electricity too. But at the time, I thought when I was doing this machine, I thought it's a pity not having, you don't have any energy that we can use twice. For example, and I got the idea to produce electricity by, my memory, actually the name comes later on, is a very important name and I don't remember. Because you see this small here, you have in here, you can have different things. For example, to go to see the Titanic, we need to have a protection for 280 bars of pressure. Is a lot. And what we have to protect people inside is the same that gets the people from outside to the air. Also, you can have concentrated air with a high volume of pressure in a small space. Just to understand, for example, this thing, if it's with, that is a very common. Now, is there we use a lot of in 7 and 50. 50 is a more recent one. I just discovered this 1 year ago that we are pressing air at 50 bars. But if it's 50 bars, we just need this one. If you use 7 bars, you need 7 of these things to put inside. Say 1 is equivalent of 7. And we are pressured air, but we are not throw away. Because for them to make electricity with this situation, and for them to move an airplane, a ship, a car, many things, we can produce electricity by these things. We use the water, the air with the 50 bars to move the things who are making the electricity, and use the 50 bars to press air for the 30 bars that we have here, to have a space in different 2 bars that the energy to press air is made by air with the 50, because it's 2 different things. You are pressing the air to go back to 50 from 30, for example, and you are using 50 to move the things we are going to do the electricity. We are going to see later one. Just to say, air is the only at the time that I thought could do using 2 different pressures, 2 different ways to make electricity and moving and other things. And it was that way when I found that it was possible to make electricity too with this machine. You are using, I don't have that thing written, and I cannot express because I cannot remember something that I'm working for a long time in this. How I can explain if I don't remember. Anyway, it have a name, you are going to appear until the end of this thing. But for example, this machine have a power of 150 horsepower. And when it's moving this thing to cut the timber that is very, very heavy, you are using all 150 everything that the electric motor have. And when it makes the moving, yeah, I remember now, inertia. I need to write because after I don't find inertia again, I forget again. How you can see my memory is very easy. In 1 minute I can lose memory from something. And when it's completely working, and you can begin to work, but if you don't work, you have something that we call inertia. And inertia is the movement that the engine is moving without just to keep for hours, from minutes to hours. If nothing goes, the inertia normally is about 5% of this engine. That means it's the same that after the connection, we can have an engine with 7.5 horsepower working with this thing, just to keep the inertia. And it's this relation from the power to the other side that means that we can get electricity after a generator is working. We can, and is in the right speed to work, you can change for a small electric motor and begin to produce electricity like an atomic, like any other. There are atomic centrals that make electricity. We can have the same thing like this situation. Have the right power and making electricity. Without using, like this one, 150, you are going to use 7.5. That means you have many electricity that you are going to produce with a very small engine. And that electricity can work the engine that is giving electricity. Also, it's a closed cycle too, because the electric engine are going to work with electricity that are producing. And it was the second way, just was possible, because I believe at compression air have different bars. I can work the air, normal air that we breathe, atmospheric air. It's not a special air that we need to do this, but that we can use two pressures in the same energy together. And now we can do it with electricity. If I didn't believe in this, I could not discover the inertia to produce electricity. Because I did have the idea that the thing is possible to do something with the same font of energy. Air, you can have twice. Electricity, you can have twice too. And discovery was done when I was looking at this plant and the plant for the timber. Because we need to crash these parts here to get less space and work in the fields. I have some pictures about that after. This is a map that I have in my computer because I love this picture. It shows that nice where we have electricity in Asia, China, Japan, South Korea. North Korea don't have electricity at night. Australia, you see, you have just a few points. South America, just in the coast and here. Central America, United States, and Europe. And Russia, you see, the lights, they still have people here. In Africa, we don't have quite any electricity spending. So they are not having electricity for the towns, for many things. They have a lot of problems. And this picture looks very nice, and I love to see it, and I keep it in my computer in the screen. This is to understand what is a motor and a generator. It's exactly the same thing. We need this thing. If a motor have these things to make electricity, if it's big, is 100 kilos. This part that is a generator have these tiers that have 100 kilos too. And it means that it's like to always say 150. It can produce 150 with a certain amount. That would be the same, and more than 150, because it makes much more, they are different. But just is the weight that is important here. This weight, to get electric motor working, is the same that this weight to make electricity with the same measurement. It's to say that we can use the inertia, using the inertia from the motor to the generator and make electricity. The main importance is the weights, how it moves. Also, inertia works better with heavy than inertia, and is Newton's first law. Now we are going to use this to produce electricity by electricity. This is from Free-Gauge's dam. It was made by Siemens, and I think I don't have the appointment for this year, but this thing can have a weight of 300 tons. 300 tons is a lot of energy. Just to say, from here to here is 10 meters, 10.4 meters. It's between the 197 and 1040. That means that this one is the inside must be 9.7, and everything is 10.4 meters. I check in my house, 5 meters is a lot. 10 meters is much bigger. And these things works with 75 RPM is the rotations. It's a very slow rotation, because normally we make electricity with 1,000 and 3,000. In the gas and coal, they work with these speeds, very high speeds, 1,000, 1.5, 3,000. And if you want to stop them, you just reduce the speed from 3,000 to 105, and it stops to make energy. That is what we can do, what we have, I'll show you later because I forgot. We have in the cars. The gearbox. I think a gearbox to make electricity without water is important for this, just to keep the same speed, but is easy for a motor after to work with these things. Because when we are not using water to make electricity, and for example, this central have 30 things of this size, and maybe they have sometimes just 2 or 3 working. If we have short of water, if we have too much at night, you don't need electricity so much now, because we are going to spend water, we need to stop them. But we don't need to stop them. You can do electricity in this thing with a motor, a gearbox, to work better, and this thing. Not to increase speed, will be the same, just to keep this thing moving without water. We stop the water moving, we have the right speed, and we connect electric engine to move this thing that have 300 tons. Imagine that this thing you see here is not working with water. And I was at the time looking at, let me see what is, if we have this thing without water that we saw before, not in that position, horizontal, but in a vertical way. How do you see? This thing is quite fragile to be in a vertical way. But we can have everything a new way of producing and a new way of generating, because these things don't exist, you are not using, you are just using these things for water, not for gas or coal, use other systems. But I thought, how can we have a generator use the old things that like the copper here or here? I don't know if it's inside or that one. Anyway, one part of it is full of copper. And metallic things. And I thought, can we use the same thing that we are using for the other things to still go on in production for generators? And I found a new way. If you think you make a question, how we can do that, we can do. Is without the V horizontal V4, you have it vertical, you have a support for bearings, in this side and that side, and without 2V 75 RPM, if you put that plus 10, it will be a speed of 750 RPM. Can this thing work on land, near a big city? Not far away, just, I'll say 1 kilometer from the city. Let me see that we need this thing in a capital. For example, in Tokyo. You can have this thing near Tokyo, producing electricity for all the city. We don't go to take electricity far away. We are going to produce electricity in the main cities, with big things of this or small ones. Because this situation, to make electricity, we can use having this in a factory and many things from different sizes. I'll say, one thing that begins with this situation, I find a different way to use this situation, is to use them to produce more electricity in a different, not in a horizontal way, in a vertical way. You can't believe is a lot of energy. Without to say, you can use the same bearings that we are using in the water, the big ones that supports everything in this situation, and produce using the things that we are now producing for many things, using the same technology, using the things to do them in the same without changing, with a different kind of generator without to be horizontal, a vertical one that is managed by electricity. The vertical one, obviously this will be a bearing to move the other one. And this is an electric engine. When I speak in inertia, and the weight of the things in a generator and the motor is this part here. I'll say, is this weight that you are going to control. This is a generator from Siemens too. It's a modern generator that normally has for coal, nuclear, and gas. Is this style of generator work? It's much more expensive than water generators. Also, you can have an old system producing a lot with a very no expensive materials for doing electricity and a simple model that can be, because to do this in this way, the metallic parts will be very, very expensive. I say, and when I speak with a small and big engine, for example, for that thing that have 300 pounds, is a big engine, but really big. I say, we are speaking more than 150 horsepower that we have in the other one, can be 1,000. I say, is everything connected with the weight? A small engine for me can be a big engine, because it's 5% of the generator, the inertia when we get the generator working at that speed normally. I'll say with 5% we make the rest of electricity for free. What we have is the initial investment. The rest is just producing electricity after for free. And what we need for, because we are going to do electricity using the inertia. But if you need an example, for example, for that one big one, that I go to have near the towns, we need something to begin to work with, to put the generator working. We are not going to do with coal, with gas, with anything. We need an engine that are going to put 300,000 tons moving. For example, this thing can move 400 tons at once. I say this engine is enough to work, to move that thing for the beginning. Or say we need it for 1 hour or less than 1 hour, to put that thing working, and after working with electricity. But we need something strong. Is why I choose, for example, ES is for data centers, engines for data centers. For example, this one can be for ships, for the sea ships. They are big engines. You have already big engines to do. We just need to choose one and be prepared to put the electric generators working. We don't need this thing if it's a small generator that we can have in a factory. But if it's big, we need a big engine. Just for the beginning to get the speed. After the speed, the rest is a small electric engine for that thing. This is a gearbox, it's different from the cars, but it's the same thing. We need a gearbox because in the generators, we have, for example, we have a generator for 3,000 RPM rotations, 3,000, and if it goes for 100, 500, it stops to make electricity. It's a way to control the electricity in the grid. Electricity you cannot have more or less. You need to control a certain amount. You just have, for example, if you are using at home 230, it goes to 240, 220. No less, no more. If you have more or less, it stops everything. You are stopping the country without electricity. It's very complicated. And this situation is the only way you can use in the old systems, because I'm speaking here for nuclear, coal, gas, stopping in less than 1 year. You can do this, stopping all that gas, coal, and nuclear, if you want to stop the nuclear. But gas and coal you can stop in less than 1 year to use coal. And the gearbox helps us to reduce all up and down to control the speed to have more or less electricity. We don't need a big engine. Will be the same. Every time when it gets the time for inertia, it stops. You can use a little big engine, but normally, if I give the example, if it's 5%, we can increase, we have 95. And we have a certain kind of electric engine that with the gearbox, when you go from, like a car, we go to first to the second, you are using it. When it's there, the speed for the second gear, it begins the cycle again, and I'm going to do for the third. Also, a small engine can go up, up, up. After finishing one, it goes to the second, the third, and fourth. And it goes from 1,500 to 3,000 to control the electricity. For the waters, we have this just for keeping the engine better working. Because in water, you are just going to keep the same speed in the dams. It's not possible to increase or decrease that situation. There are connectors, and is a kind of an example how we can begin with the old gas, gold or working now, coal and gas installations, that we can separate them from the turbine. You are going to have a lot of turbines without working. You can use to burn rubbish. I'll show later one, because you still have the rubbish that needs the turbines to burn it. But it's a kind of connection that we can use in all systems to separate, to stop absolutely the gas and the coal and begin to work with the electricity by inertia. This is another connection. If you are going to a new one, in that big engine that I told you, you have a connection for the small engine, small that can be big, don't forget. And this one is for to connect to the big engine. Also, we can control here the pressure, and when we have the right speed, you just we separate this thing from the generator, and it begins to work with the electric engine. Obviously, it's not so complicated. There are various situations. I just find these two. It was quite, sometimes it's difficult. I just find this week these two pictures to explain it. And now you have a problem with electricity, that we have a lot of electricity. You can produce all the electricity that we need day and night easily without problems. And you have the grid. The grid must be prepared to have that electricity. This picture with the wind farm, but it's just an example for the grid. Anyway, these things make problems in the grid, that we need batteries too. But here it comes a problem. Is the grid from the state or is private? Are the state producing electricity or are the privates? And I just go work in the state that controls the grid and can make electricity and are doing electricity for the people of that country. The private ones is from the government and from the people of that country to choose what they want to do. But I'm going to speak about a public grid and a public grid production of electricity. And it divides the country into two styles that really exist now. Let me see. It's a coal making electricity. You can stop this from one day to another easily. Let's say we don't need more coal. Don't forget, when we are burning something, when we are burning coal, when we are burning gas, we make carbon, dioxide. But we do another thing. You are burning oxygen, because we don't have carbon if you don't burn oxygen. When we are moving a car, diesel or petrol, it's just the car moves because it's burning oxygen. It's not from the petrol or the diesel. It's oxygen who makes. Without oxygen, you don't have a car engine working. You don't have these things working. They make carbon, but same time they are decreasing the oxygen that we are in Earth, our planet. This is a situation, and it's not this one, but to have petrol and diesel and other chemical products from crude, we have to refine that. And how we refine that, I don't know if it's from gas they produce themselves, or it's from the crude, the bad crude they are burning to do the diesel, the gasoline for aeroplanes, for cars, everything of that products. We never speak about that, but it's like to make alcohol. We need to burn the crude. You need to eat the crude to separate in different qualities, and we need to burn something for that. It's not electricity, but in the future can be, if it's a state, can be done by electricity, and they can have batteries, because are going to have two different ways. Is having electricity at night for people using for free. Because in the night we don't have matchsticks to use electricity. For example, this is aluminium, and it's the same situation. You can, in the past, it's very complicated because aluminium spends a lot of electricity. Just a few countries have produce aluminium for that reason. But in the future, we can produce, how much aluminium we want, anytime. And is another thing, and one of more. They can have electricity for free at night and during the weekends. They can have electricity for free. And they are going, in that situation, they are going to use the batteries. Or say, the batteries that we need for the peak time are going to be done saving electricity from these big consumers of electricity that they spend a lot of electricity. I use aluminum cables. They are bigger, but they are less value normally than copper. And having that situation to make aluminum quite for free using electricity, we can produce a lot of these things. You can stop to use a lot of copper if you are using aluminum in many situations that we can see here. This is a battery for electricity, to keep electricity, and this thing is big, you see? It's very big. Diaphragm weights moving. It still go up, I think, and we can keep electricity during the night for the morning, working in the peak times. Is a kind of battery that is the cheaper one to keep electricity. But you still have these situations that we can keep battery. Factories can choose what kind of system they want. Anyway, they can have them because they are going to use to charge them without generators from the grid. If it's are private, I don't know what they are going to do. If they want to have batteries or generators to the size of the factories that are using electricity. Because you can have big ones producing electricity for all country and a lot of small ones, but the small ones working without the grid is just trouble. It's situations that every country needs to think what to do. With this electricity, you can have another thing, because electricity are not going to, after the first investment, are not costing too much money. And for heating homes, we have sun batteries that we heat the sun with electricity, and you can use the hot water to heat factories, apartments, big ones, and you can have these sun batteries big or small too. Also, you can have a sun energy with 5 meters high for 2 meters that we can have everywhere. You can have these things for a building, just with the building. If you are in a climate that is much cold, you can, this kind of sun energy is one of the best situations in the future. And having electricity, we can get CO2 filter air. Let's say you can store CO2 and begin to take CO2 from the air. This thing is just possible if you produce electricity by electricity. If not, is one situation to forget. Anyway, you need to solve the problem of methane, carbon, and oxygen. You have to solve 3 things, not just 2. You need to know what you are going to do to have oxygen, which politics we want. Because you are trying, you are spending oxygen like crazy in these years. If you need oxygen, we need trees. We need something green to produce oxygen. This is a salt plant. Is another thing. If you have electricity with a very low, or say, if electricity are going to cost 1% or 2% that it costs now, you can make distillation of salt water for people and for crops. It's just one possible if you are with electricity. And this makes another problem. For example, this one is near the sea, and people are putting the water full of salt to the sea again. It's not a good idea to make these things, mainly if you are in very hot countries, like North Africa, Arabic Peninsula, Iran, Pakistan. If we can have the water, you need to have these things inside. I'll show in the deserts where we need to put the things, where we need salt water, not near the sea, but far away from the sea. Another thing that you are speaking here about big of these things. And air or electricity can move these things. One way is producing, begin to the new ones begin with these two energies. And the third one is using these engines that are working with the dirty, worst part of the crude that they are making, after taking for petrol, for cars, for airplanes, for everything. The rubbish of the crude is what is moving these things. They are the big pollutions of the seas, of our planet. But if they are working with crude, because they burn crude, rubbish crude that they take from when they are separating the things, the rubbish comes to it. And you can have them like a car. Also, you can use the crude for the first movement, put in the right place, and after connect, and they are like a car. They have gears. And you know that we can, if you go on the road, you can take the gear and go without any gear, and the car is moving. When it's in that situation, you can use air or electricity, air for moving. And the pressure of air, if you need 200 bars, for example, to move this thing, don't forget, if you are using, you need, from 450 bars, you need to use 230 or 120, compress that again to produce air, the system, a closed circuit. And it can move after by air, not burning, and can cross the ocean with air without burning. So you can use air or electricity to move these things and containers that are big, using them like we are using in a car, electricity and engine, a petrol engine. You can do the same with these things too. We need to, another thing that are going to, from sun to heat pumps, we are going to need to choose what kind of electricity using for heat or cold, or to cool our place, because one of the problems of climate change is the increase of these things, heat pumps or the things. Anyway, it works like this thing that lots of apartments have outside. Not a heat pump, is I cannot remember the name now. But you need to choose what kind of system we want. And electricity, we are using these things, if climate change, more and more and more. Or say, just for these data centers, we did a lot of electricity. Giving electricity free at night gives that a person at home can charge the electric car, can charge the battery for the house for free without solar panels. And they are going to increase the batteries for the day, for the peak times, because they are going to use electricity for that batteries. For that, we need clocks. They get electricity for free at night, but they need to be programmed in the clock. So you need to change them for people getting electricity for free, for cars, for eating home, for what they need electricity. They can get and have heat with batteries. They are paying the batteries, but they get electricity free at night because you can produce a lot of electricity. If no one is using it, it's just stupid. So you can't make a lot of electricity at night and making the people. The big factories like aluminium working at night from the grid without any problems. They can work at night with free electricity for them to make aluminum, but during the day they are going to use the batteries. So they make the investment for the batteries, and the grid is controlled. That with the small generators for everybody are going to put a big problem in the grid. Is one problem that the state must solve. For example, when we are producing, making diesel and petrol for cars, you are heating with a chemical. You can do that after with electricity. They will be the same. They need batteries to get electricity free for the day, and that night is free. They can and stop burning chemicals to make petrol and using electricity. For example, this is from a car, and foam tracks. Sometimes these fingers have 1 centimeter. I'll say is the small finger from our hand, fingers in the hand thickness. And it's like working as eating at home with electricity with these things that goes inside the tube and is making eating. It's exactly the same, just they are 1 centimeter to make a lot of water. And is a way to produce cement, aluminium, or many things appear that we see not in this one. But is this situation that makes you can use electricity now for everything, and is better than doing with hydrogen. There is no point of hydrogen to make iron. That is the future for iron is hydrogen. No, will be electricity. Because you are going to melt with electricity like with the same high power that you are doing with coal. But we use electricity. Is another situation how to make it not with hydrogen but with electricity. And this way, at the end, we stop with coal, natural gas, and for some natural gas, in many countries, we use them for heating homes. If we get them free at night, people are going to begin to use electricity and stopping the gas at home. Using gas at home for cooking, many things with batteries, and with heating moving naturally for electric without using gas at home. That is where we spend a lot of gas, not only for electricity, but for homes for heating. Petroleum are going to decrease because you can have a car moving with air and batteries from electricity. The advantage of this system, they don't need to recharge. Or say we don't need petrol stations or electrical stations because they don't, air and batteries don't need to go recharge. You can use in crops that is not economic nowadays to do these things, but in the future it is. And with climate change can be one of the problems to solve our life in the earth. The only energy that is safe from making electricity by electricity is the soil. That's this one. Because it's still very important to keep protection for the fields, for example, for sheep having food, for crops, protection. We can make a kind of warehouse with these things. If you close these gaps with something, sometimes between them we have a space of 1 centimeter. I think we notice in the pictures. But it can be closed with rubber or just with a piece up that moves, don't let the rain goes inside, and you can have a lot of things under these things. Protection is the only thing, because I don't use so much copper to produce these things. It's not so expensive, and you still can have, gas and other things are going to disappear in time. This thing is what people call the future of energy, nuclear fusion. But the problem of nuclear fusion, it must be far away. With electricity by electricity, you can have in every town in the country a generator producing electricity for the town or the city. And this one you need to have cables, like water dams. We need to move cables far away. Electricity by electricity, we don't move. You don't need cables to move the electricity because we are going to produce locally the electricity. This is an example of the town that we can have a generator near this part here. That now is impossible, but in the future you can have all the electricity that we need on the borders of the town. Just easy. I took this picture for two situations. This is the sea. It's something that everybody speaks the increasing of water in our planet, reducing the ice and increasing the sea levels. I don't understand how people still doing these things near the sea in a very low places. I cannot understand at all. They must have a justification if the sea goes up, what they do after. And I finished electricity, and now I begin, like the electricity, I begin 1 year ago. And one of these situations, I begin from behind the shell and tires. From at the time it was Pirelli. Someone wants to buy Pirelli tires. And is another problem of pollution, because no one speaks. This problem of pollution is controlled by the states, the news, and we just know what they want us to know. You must, in the tires, you have this part here that is the number one. Sorry. That are going to, anyway, this is the picture, and it's this part here that I go to work. I'm not going to work in this part here, I can explain why. Because the problem for tires is the number one, not the other ones. The other ones are okay, you are developing well, just you are not doing this one here properly. And I don't believe no one wants. For example, this is tires. If the car is in front tires is not working properly, I don't remember now the name, but it begins to get like these pings here, you see, inside or outside. From if you have, for example, this is the left tire, you can spend more here or in this side. Depends how how we say in Portuguese, direction. I don't know if it's direction in English or not. But all go to the hand. For example, lots of countries are spending everything in poor countries because tires are really very expensive there. And after I took on this week, I just got an idea how to recycle them properly. I say, from now, the tires that we are going to begin to work, you can take all of this part that are going to be look like this to recycle just for rubber. You have different products you can have rubber. Obviously, lots of tires, they still have a lot of good rubber to collect. Also, you need to put them in machines, take all of these things to be like this. You are going to see in the future. And the rubber that you are going to collect for the old, I don't remember the name of this thing, a tire. This tire, there are a different kind of tires that are using, for example, in forklifts on the back, we use rubber only. This collect tire, that we collect from the older tires can be done for these big ones, small ones, and for some shelves that are moving or other things, we use rubber like this too. I say, recycle this kind of rubber that we take from here can go here. And the rest, you can make two things. One, burning them. People don't know, they speak about burning, what we are burning. We are burning a lot of plastic here, because the majority of our rubbish is plastic. But plastic is not a problem for burning, because if you have a good, and today we have them, we have technology and you are doing them, the plastic helps. It's like injecting gas in the system to make electricity. This plastic and paper all works like a rich part of the fire to fight the rest that is not good, like vegetables or things that are not plastic, rest of food, lots of things that appear. This one I told is the old one, because now these things are made in iron to make the circulation of the hot water coming from the turbine are moving inside in the bottom and sides to eating the rubbish to get more dry. And in one day they dry, the next day they are going to fire. So we get these parts here made to dry and to have a better fire. And fires can be good or better with the air that we put inside to burn all of these things. I don't see if it's a modern garbage to make electricity. I don't see any problem with this. And you can spend the rest of the tires burning here, because the tires, not all the part of the tires are rubber. And they are going to make electricity without making much pollution. And this is what I thought 1 year ago. No, I didn't know that we have resins for rubber compounding, and you are doing them. But if you are doing them, you are not doing them for the correct place, but just for one of the possibilities. This thing, the backlit. Backlit is made from petrol resins. Is that they are very hard. For example, for the weight electric cars have now with the batteries, the tires must be good. I think this thing was mainly made for electric cars to get the weight of the car and to protect more the car against the nails. I say, is this material that we are going to use in the modern tires and change the tires' way of producing? How do you see? Not every. This is rubber. You can see here the rubber, and up here we have fibers. If they are from the plastic, it's one thing. If they are natural fibers, we get the trouble. It's better to burn them. But we can get the old rubber, and after taking, I think we can see here, we take the rubber and we can do these things. We can have this material for new and old ones, but I think for the beginning, the old ones are a very beginning part to produce this. It's not this constitution, but what we are doing, I used a lot of these tires when I was young and have a car, because they are much cheaper. We just pay this part and do work. We don't pay all the tire. And you can have what they are not using. They put that backlit in this part here, but not here. And it must be here. Also, if you can have a tire that can have 5 times the life of a normal tire that you are using now, you spend less 5 tires. And I think this is possible. From 1 to 5, you can increase that time. Maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. But never 1 by 1, just 2. You must have more than 2. Say, with a new tire, you can use 1 tire not using fire and putting all of these things for the people living in the towns. Another example is the tires problem. Why we need to have tires to run at 200 kilometers or 150 in a city? Have tires for that in a city? It's just crazy. So buses, lots of cars in the city and out of the city can use the backlit system to run and save rubber and pollution. But with that quality, we need to separate here. We need more space for a little moving. And one of the secrets of the situation with backlit for insurance, because this part here is what we call a radial tire, is one of the parts that makes the protection when we brake. Because this kind of tires, radial tires, when we brake, they get more in the bottom, I'll say now without breaking this, but when we make, they go up half a centimeter or 1 centimeter and increase the volume on the road is one of the reasons to brake to stop. Now we have very good radial tires. Another thing I learned in my experience, not having them short here. They must be longer, a normal size, not the special ones. Because the special ones with wells in the road, I just would have one accident. Not an accident, but I was going traveling, and at night I have to change the tire because the road was not good, and the tire just broke. After that, I just want normal tires, not special tires to speed and these things. They look nice, but they are dangerous. Also, this is one of parts of the security of a tire. If you use backlit here and here, with the right space here to the moving of the rubber, that is with backlit resin, and this part here, you can use the backlit on the top. Here on the tires, new ones and old ones. Also, if it's an old one, like this one, when they go to changing, the tire will be that if is to get from the old one some rubber to recycle for tires, compact tires, or they go to burn and begin to have tires for a long time without any problems, without loss and opportunities for this situation. Tires companies will be producing without backlit on the top because they say that it's not safe. Let me see if it's safe or not, make tests and begin to do many for tons. You must choose if you want a tire for 150 kilometers per hour or to drive in a town. London is 15 the minimum, 15, 20, 40 kilometers or 140, 150 kilometers per hour for the tires that we use that are very good. And they cost a lot of money. And they go fast. This is backlit. Just to understand, backlit can go for different things. One of them is this one. Who knows them, knows the weight or resistance these things is backlit. This is backlit. Or you can see, these things in the past, beginning in the last century, were used for doing these things. People think it's plastic. It's not plastic. It's made from crude, but it's not plastic. It's the beginning of the plastic. And you can have, how do you see? You can have it here and here. You have very different things how to do backlit. It's a very versatile product. Can be very hard, strong, and it comes the thing that everybody knows in engine. I think the next one is engine. Let me see. Yeah, with the engine, we have an engine here. The engine here that can be changed for a very cheap thing that can help Africa and South America. People having electricity at home produced by air and batteries, to have batteries that are going to be recharged by air. And cars can have the same, aeroplane can have the same. Also, it's something that can be done for poor people or for rich people with air technology. And in that air, if you see a bottle from gas, I'm speaking about for the same thing. We have the air energy moving to move this thing. Is not this, but are going to make electricity. There are different things of this. And you can have simple or the ones that make a lot of electricity. For example, you need a lot of electricity for a car. You have special of these things prepared for that situation. There are a few models of to produce electricity by this. And this is the thing to make the gas bottle. For cars, for Africa, South America, for the people, because we can have all of the things that not need to be painted, not be working. You can make the shape with backlit finish, and after you can doing with these things close and have a closed circuit. Because with hair you can work with 200 bars, but you can work with 5 bars or 7, or say For homes, you can have a pressure of 5 to 7 to make electricity for a house, for the refrigerator, for the cooker. Because a lot of people still burning timber everywhere because gas is expensive and they don't have gas anyway, they just have timber to burn. And with this situation, you can make electricity by air and are going to be, with the screws, for example, can be by backlit too, using that things that round to close everything, and you are going to have like a bottle of gas producing electricity with this thing. For homes, the simple ones that you are using now, for a car is okay. But for a car, we need special things that we have. Exactly, not like this one, but in a different construction. And these ones, screws, and these things can make, must be made by rubber, that are going to close down. So you can have a very cheap way to produce electricity for poor houses. For an aeroplane, cheap car, we need more bars, but for houses we don't need so much. And backlit is the right material to do all of this job, because when we put that thing in front, it goes out without changing measurements. That you see would be perfect for assembling that thing, and we don't need to much any work in it, and there is no problem with corrosion from inside and outside, and is an easy way to do this thing. I think I'm doing this. These things I go to separate these things for two jobs, and you say you can stop all of this thing here, and just with backlit doing the same thing with this thing special to make more electricity, and you don't need to go to the petrol station or to electric station to charge a car, because we can do it, the cars can do it themselves. This is the beginning for plastic. How do you see? Is another thing. I am a plastic man. I say plastic is gold. You cannot live without plastic shoes, or you need to do a lot of cows to furt. It's better to use plastic than material from the leather from the cows that are going to furt everything. Is why we need plastic. And with this, we'll be doing a mix too, because I think it's a long time, and now I go to rest. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you subscribe and link my video for many people to see what we can do with what we can do to change the climate on Earth. It's easy, simple, not difficult, because in the past we could go to the new energies, but with this energy you can save. You can begin to stop the old ones easily, making new ones easily, without to have a shock. Still having the old ones working for a long time, you can stop all. Thank you very much. Have a good time. See you soon.